Mrs. Walleroo and Son. Once again, not a video I expected to be making, but anyway. Here we are, it's Saturday. Yesterday I went down to Coffs Harbour and saw the community health dental clinic where I got a second and a consulted third opinion, all of which agreed with my local dentist here in Glen Innes. To the effect, see how they hide behind a tree? It's great, isn't it? To the effect that indeed all my teeth need to be cleared. So sadly, we've just wasted a week chasing the shibboleth that perhaps the small town country dentist didn't have enough experience with radiation dentistry to have made the correct call. Also chasing the shibboleth, which is a sort of fancy word for a ghost, an image, a mirage, a dream, a fantasy, chasing the shibboleth, that if we went down the coast they'd be somehow able to slot a relatively urgent case like this into their operating theatre system and they'd be able to do 20 extractions under a general anaesthetic and get it all done bang. Now, I note that the first bloke I consulted, my local hometown dentist, he said, part one, they've all got to come out. The people who do it all the time, their comment is, yeah, he's right, they've all got to come out. Part two, he said, it'd be great if they can fit you into their system and do them real fast under a general anaesthetic. But he said, just on the off chance that they can't fit you in really fast, he said, I'll do them up here in the chair just like we were going to do them, and I'll just magically make the appointment times to get it done as fast as possible, because you've got to get your gums healed for 3 weeks before you can start getting your head cooked. And he was right on that as well. And today's Saturday, and tomorrow's Sunday, and the day after that's Monday, and here in Australia that means, or in New South Wales, it's the Queen's birthday holiday weekend, so I think the dentist might have got away for an early weekend because nobody was answering their phone on Friday. So Tuesday morning I'll go in and visit the dentist and eat a whole heap of humble pie and ask him if he can reboot the whole plan to pull all of my teeth out in his chair and get it happening as soon as possible. And sometime after that there's going to have to be multiple trips to Coffs Harbour, because when all this palaver started, I got a telephone call from somebody who said they were my cancer care coordinator from the Cancer Institute. They gave me a phone number and I wrote it down. Then they sent me a couple of text messages and I very cleverly captured the text message telephone number to get their mobile phone number. And every time I've rung trying to talk to that person since, they haven't been available. They've been at home that day. Yesterday, the people at the Cancer Institute explained to me that, that person is actually on 2 months leave. So my expectation that my duly appointed cancer care coordinator, who was getting paid to somehow coordinate the doctor who wants to do the tonsillectomy and the biopsy with the radiation oncologist who wants to cook me head and fill me full of cytotoxic chemicals, with the people who want me to be fitted with a percutaneous enteric gastric tube, PEG, PEG tube, a feeding tube, a reverse colostomy, into which not so much mulched up food as some kind of a carefully balanced sustagen milk type mix can be injected direct into the stomach. So that takes care of cooking when I'm staying at Coffs Harbour, doesn't it? They won't have to worry about the cost of takeaway food and deliveries and stuff like that because, yeah, it's all going to go into the reverse colostomy. Pump shit in rather than collect shit in a bag. And what the time scale is for any of this, I don't know. It's all going to hinge on when the dentist can pull the fangs out because it takes about 2 or 3 weeks after that before the gums have healed to the point where they want to start cooking. And the reason for the PEG tube is because you've got to expect the equivalent of 3rd degree burns on the inside of your throat. So that's why you don't want to swallow anything. And the reason the teeth are going to fall out is because all the salivary glands are going to be killed. And true, there are 6 or a dozen teeth at the very front of my mouth, which are only going to get between 35 and 45 or maybe 50 greys. And if they were perfectly healthy teeth in a perfectly healthy person who had a really much better oral dental history than mine, you might want to take a chance on it. But they're my teeth and they've all got multiple fillings in them and holes and, you know, held together with glue, and they're not perfectly anchored in the gums, a little bit of looseness on 1 or 2 of them. And yeah, 2 dentists said yesterday, no, you're going to have to take them all out. Or you will risk all kinds of catastrophic failures when they start to break down halfway through the therapy, and then we can't do any extractions and you have to be transferred to Sydney for intensive oxygen therapy and all sorts of just stupid bullshit that's not worth risking. So yeah, I accept the decision. The fangs have got to go. But holy shit, wouldn't it have been nice if all of this could have been explained weeks ago, a month ago? I mean, we'd be looking at 2 months since well, maybe 2.5 months since I first took me lumpy neck to the doctor, back before Easter. And there was an urgent ultrasound, and there was an urgent CAT scan, and then there was an urgent biopsy. And after they got the biopsy, then all of a sudden everything slowed down. It was 9 days after the biopsy to get the PET scan appointment. And that appointment was 2.5 weeks after the 9 days. So yeah, that's bloody near a month, you know, 3 weeks to a month between the biopsy and the PET scan. And the PET scan was 2 weeks ago. And I should have had all these bloody teeth pulled out, but the radiation oncologist encouraged me to believe there was a chance of saving maybe half of my fangs. An inappropriately optimistic view of the situation. And instead of just going ahead with it here in Glen Innes, he then encouraged me to fantasise that there would be some kind of accelerated path to have all of the teeth pulled in a general anaesthetic because that's what the radiation oncologist imagined should happen. And it probably would have been what would have happened 20 or 40 years ago. And back in the days when I was a baby nurse at a big hospital in the city, the general direction of the treatment for this thing would have been surgical, and within a week of showing it to a doctor and having a biopsy that said this is cancerous, you would have been flat out on your side under a general anaesthetic, losing a big chunk of meat the size of your fist. 40 years ago, with no computers, with a landline telephone network, with paper records and letters, I'm absolutely convinced that whatever the treatment was going to be, the regime and the protocol would have been cranked up within 1 week easy, 2 weeks absolute slowest possible maximum, even if you live in the country. So yeah, instead of 2 weeks, you're looking at 2 months and fucking nothing's happened. I've had 2 months more of being me, which has been lovely. And I'm now in the situation where I'm going to put some very pointed questions to me radiation oncologist on Tuesday morning when, you know, I expect he'll be back from the Queen's birthday weekend, and find out whether it's in fact worthwhile even proceeding ahead at this late date, you know, after everything's been left fucking fester and go as wrong as it can go wrong for 2 months after figuring out what was going wrong. So yeah, welcome to the state of play between cancer and bureaucracy, because that's where it's at. The health system was on its last legs before COVID. COVID has proved a catastrophic stress to the system. And as I prophesied back when I was making videos about the correct way to wear a mask and why you should pay attention to it, God help anybody who has something like cancer or heart disease or hypertension that's really bothering them, because everything is delayed. The system is snowed under, it's overloaded, it's beyond its tolerance limits. You can't expect any kind of optimal treatment, and I don't think having money would have helped much at all. Might have got me a quicker trip to the PET scanner, but treating stage 4 cancer is not the sort of thing that private health clinics can make money out of. So it's all left to the public system anyway. So I don't think I'd be in any better situation if I was a private patient rather than a Medicare patient. I think it's just 2022 and the whole system is coming unglued. It's failing, it's fallen to pieces, it's delaminating, the wheels are falling off, and the politicians can't think of anything to do except try and promise a better football stadium, perhaps, more car parks beside railway stations where nobody goes to work because the economy's collapsed, more shibboleths, more mirages, more ghosts of prosperity, of everything being under control. Yeah, so anyway, that's why I'm on the endangered species sanctuary, wandering around looking for which tree to turn into firewood next, after the perfectly felled firewood has been docked into lengths fit for the firebox of the yurt. But if I'm going to be going away to the coast for 11 weeks to eat through a reverse colostomy and get my head cooked every day, 5 days a week, I think she's going to need a lot more bloody firewood than what I've done here. So I better get on with something that matters, eh? Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.